It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Conversations with Joan. Conversations with Joan will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Lives, Conversations with Joan. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in. Conversations with Joan focuses on topics that are important to your life, from health and wellness to professional development to personal well-being. Change makers join me to share their insights, tips, and strategies so you can thrive and live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. Now, let's start talking. Today's guest, Michelle Phillips, believes that beauty is not a size, it's not a specific look, or a certain age. According to Michelle, beauty is an attitude. Michelle inspires women to look and feel their best. She's a women's empowerment coach and best-selling author of The Beauty Blueprint. Michelle has appeared as a host and correspondent on HGTV, HSN, QVC, Oxygen, and The Daily Buzz, among others. Her popular beauty segment airs on TV shows across the country. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here, Joan. Thanks for having me.
Well, I am so excited to have you back on the show. The first time you were here, I think, was about a decade ago. So, we really have to talk to each other more often.
I know. It's been way too long. I was so excited to have you on my show recently. And it felt like yesterday that we had talked, even though it had been so long ago.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about your show, Beauty, Love, and Transformation, a little bit later on in this show, because I want to start off by letting our listeners learn a bit about you. In addition to what I mentioned in the introduction, you've shared your message on speaking tours with Shark Tank's Barbara Corcoran, Suzanne Summers, as well as the Hay House I Can Do It tour with icons like Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay. So you've really, really had an amazing career. So let's start off with, how did you get started with all of this? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started off as a makeup artist behind the scenes, working for CBS, CNN, Fox, NBC, you name it. I was working with very top leaders, like world leaders, as well as movie stars, but primarily my focus was working with newscasters, such as Dan Rather, Katie Couric, Connie Chung. And eventually I was asked to be on camera. I'm dating myself, but it was way back in the early 2000s when HGTV and the Style Network started to become popular. CBS wanted me to start doing segments to help women with beauty and style tips. And so as I was out and about in the community in Tampa, where I live and where I was shooting most of these segments, I was meeting women who were sharing with me not only, what was going on in the world of beauty and fashion here locally, but I was being introduced to women who had incredible stories of overcoming adversity. And it wasn't just what they had overcome, it was how, and the support they received from others, and primarily through a lot of nonprofits. And when you become like a TV personality, next thing you know, a lot of these groups reach out to you to MC and host their events and such. And so I was so amazed at these women's stories that I wanted to start doing makeovers for women, their outer beauty, but really highlight the stories of who they were, what they went through and how they overcame their challenges. To inspire others, because I was so inspired. That's kind of how I really started to transition into the inner beauty aspect of what I do.
Michelle, when you and I first met, when your book, The Beauty Blueprint, came out, we were both going through similar situations in our lives. We were, there were a lot of challenges that we each had to overcome. And you're talking about these women inspiring you, but you're an inspiration to them because of what you've survived in your life. So would you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah. And so through that journey of working with these women, I was invited to a women's seminar called Get Up Out of Your Chair and Dance. It was a women's empowerment seminar. And I, sat down front row, and I'm listening to the first speaker, who's a life coach. And she said, can you get out a piece of paper to the entire room of like 200 women? And she said, write down the answers to the following questions. Number one, who are you? And I'm like, I am a mom. Which makes me a nurse and, a chauffeur and a cheerleader. And I'm thinking of all my roles, right? And then I'm a makeup artist and I'm a wife. And, and she said, for those of you that are writing down your roles, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, who are you? And then she went on to say, what do you love to do? What are your passions? What are your, deep desires? And I was just like, is she kidding me? Or she's talking about my to-do list? And I could see, as I was looking around the room, everyone was stumped. Women were in tears, including myself. I ran to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and just was like, oh my gosh, what happened to me? I have everything I want. But on the outside looking in, my life was perfect. I had this great career, I have these amazing children, 3 little beautiful children. But what nobody knew was that I was married to an alcoholic who I just kept thinking if I loved him more and if I did more to make him happy, that he would change. And he would, have these outbursts of anger. And, my kids and I would never know what was going to happen next. We were always walking on eggshells. And so it was at that moment that I realized that I wanted to figure out who I am, and I wanted to start living my life according to who I am, and I didn't even know who that was. So I signed up for this life coaching program, which ultimately completely changed my life, and I ended up leaving that marriage, and like a month after I left, I lost my job at the TV station because it was like 2006, and the whole economy was crumbling, and they couldn't afford me anymore. And so here I was like, what am I going to do? But they said, you know what? But we have a morning talk show that we're actually starting. We'd love for you to host that. If you can't do the makeup artist, gig and the reporter gig, we would love for you to do this. And I thought, oh, awesome. People that are on TV make money, so I'll make a lot of money. And so I'll just do that. And so I said yes, and I accepted. And then next thing you know, what they offered me financially was basically what I would make flipping hamburgers probably at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. So here I was. I had very little money to support me and my 3 kids. I was living off credit cards, and when those ran out, I applied for food stamps because my ex-husband was being a jerk and was financially trying to cut me off from everything. And I was in the middle of a nightmare, like in my life. I thought, what have I done? Did I make the wrong decision? Maybe I should have stayed. Maybe it would have been easier, even if I was in an abusive situation. And then my best friend called and told me she had stage 4 cancer and 6 months to live. And then I felt pretty small. Like, who am I to sit here and think about my issues? I have none, because I have my kids, I have my health, and I need to start practicing what I learned in that coaching school and stop thinking about it. And when I did, Joan, my life dramatically changed. And it was about taking those steps that I teach in my book now, of really getting clear about who you are and what you want, and stop being the people pleaser, learning how to take extreme good care of yourself and create a life that you don't have to escape from, and a sense of security for yourself, and really focusing on healing me. And when I did, everything shifted, and unbelievably, like next thing you know, I'm working with Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer, and I'm like, wow, what happened in my life? How did this happen? But it was because I was in alignment with me. And it's not an easy journey, but one so worth taking.
The story that you just shared, it's such a common story for women in one variation or another. We tend to give so much of ourselves to others, to the people we love, that we lose sight that we're a person and we have needs and we have capabilities. And, it's when you have that aha moment when you wake up, like I call it, wake up one day and say, what about me in all of this? It's a scary time. And, and also as women, we get all these messages of what a beautiful woman looks like, what a successful woman looks like, and it's very difficult to live up to the expectations of what we're supposed to be. And what I love about your messaging is that beauty starts on the inside. You know, you've made your career working in the beauty industry, making people look beautiful on the outside. But I love that you're taking it inside and helping people to see that that's really where it starts.
Yeah, because I think for years, everyone's talking about inner beauty, and no one that I've worked with really, like, a lot of people will be like, oh, that's nice, and they think, oh, yeah, it comes from within. Well, now I feel as if our culture is starting to catch up with the messaging that I've been sharing, and some others too, because I've spent 25 years making people look a certain way, and it didn't matter how great they looked. They would look in the mirror and tear themselves apart. Even some of the most incredible, well-known personalities that are, aesthetically what we would call beautiful. But yet some of the most incredible, I think, incredibly attractive people I've worked with are women like Condoleezza Rice, or, who actually, they know who they are, and they unapologetically, live their lives. And because they do so, they are coming from a sense of deep self-worth, and they're empowered, and no one else can take away who they are. And so that, to me, is what inner beauty is. It's finding the beauty in yourself at all times, even when it's difficult, embracing our flaws, embracing, the way we were raised. Sometimes all of us have our stuff because we've been, raised to think certain things, right? So my dad was always like, who are you to be a makeup artist? Like, how are you going to make it in Hollywood? Like, and then when I made it, and then I was like, I'm going to be on TV. And my dad was like, how are you going to be on TV? You're a makeup artist. And you know what? He really loved me and always wanted me to have like a safe job and go to college and like be, a lawyer or something. But I always took this path that he thought was just like crazy, because back in 1980, there was no such thing as women wanting to be makeup artists. We didn't have YouTube or anything like that. So what I'm just saying is we have all these voices in our heads from not only our upbringing, but our society and our culture that are constantly, we don't feel like we can keep up with, and we don't feel like we're good enough. We feel like we'll never measure up. And so what I teach women to do is deprogram that and reprogram themselves to understand they are enough and always capable of anything you desire. And it's just amazing when I coach women, and they're like, they feel so great after we're done with a session. And all I feel like is I just sat here for an hour and reminded you of who you are. I take people through exercises, of course, to discover that. But really, I feel like my job is to hold up a mirror to women and help them realize how incredible they are. And that's just what inner beauty is.
Michelle, you and I are both believers in pushing the negative thoughts aside, our own and what other people say to us as well. And you just shared the story of what your dad said to you. And my ex-husband told me that I was making a fool of myself and everyone was laughing at me. So was there ever a time in your career, was there ever an experience or something that happened to you that made you want to give up and just say, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm done? And if there was, how did you overcome that? How did you move forward?
That's such a good question, Joan, because I think it happens to me at least once a year. Because I'm always taking on new things, right? Because our world is ever changing. So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh! Like the first time I was a makeup artist on a set, I remember, being sick to my stomach and not being able to sleep all night, and then I just showed up with no sleep, and I did it, and I did well. Same thing with being on TV. I used to get sick. Because I'm such a perfectionist, a lot of times it's that never good enough, that good girl syndrome. I always want to be like, show up and be really good and all that stuff. And so, what I have to do is I have to remind myself of what I have accomplished, that I have what it takes. And I do this exercise with other women where I just, like, for example, I just started a new live stream show on Facebook Live, and it scares the heck out of me because I'm all by myself talking live on camera and I don't have a camera crew around me with all the stuff that I'm used to. So my point is, I feel like the best way to go through that and still persevere is write down like something that you were faced with, whether it be personal or professional, and you actually going into it thought you'd never ever make it through or do well, and then you did. And then what is it that it took, your strengths, your talents, everything, your resources, support, to actually accomplish that or get, overcome that obstacle. For some people it can be a health challenge. And it's just, we just need to constantly remind ourselves that we are capable. And you know what? Not everything's going to work out. And that's okay too, because there's no such thing as failure, because all of our experiences teach us whether we actually want to do something anymore or not. There's some things I've done where I go, okay, that was bad. I don't want to do that anymore. But I'm sure you get that too. I mean, I think we all do. I don't know, but
yeah, all the time.
I hate to speak for you, but
no, absolutely, all the time. But the key is to not let it stop you, because we all fear, this word failure. I hate that word, but we all fear things not working out the way we expect them to. But, as I'm sure you'll agree, when it doesn't work out the way we want, it's not the end of the world. We just pull up our big girl pants and move on. And that's the key, to continue moving forward. The key.
And not to beat ourselves up. That's exactly what you said, with your husband. I completely get that, when your husband said, you're making a fool of yourself, or, my ex-husband did that too, not those exact words, but I feel like as long as I'm beating myself up, I'm going to attract people who are going to treat me the same.
Mm-hmm. And words only resonate if it's your thought already. So I was already thinking I was making a fool of myself. So when he said it, I agreed with him. 99 other people could have been cheering me on, but because his thought aligned with my thought, I believed him.
Yep, exactly. And that is the key, I think, for example, of not having those negative people in our lives, is to work on our negative thoughts about ourselves. And it's not just our thoughts too. It's also, our actions. I've been, doing a lot of work lately, to even a little deeper work. I'm always in self-improvement mode. Not, like I'm constantly needing to fix myself, but I just do feel like, if I'm coaching other women, I also want to make sure that I'm walking my talk, and sometimes it's not just the thoughts we think. It's like, okay, am I actually doing things that are taking care of me?
Right.
Am I taking care of my body well? Am I getting enough sleep? I mean, just there's things that if I don't do those things, then I'm not going to think good thoughts, because I'm not going to feel well. So there's, it's just a holistic approach.
So, Michelle, you have a new show, Beauty, Love, and Transformation, and I'm so happy to say I was a recent guest. We had so much fun, and I invite our listeners to check that episode out on your YouTube channel. But tell us about the program.
Yes, you were a guest, and it was such an awesome show, by the way. I had such great feedback, and women saying, thank you so much for sharing your stories. So you're such an inspiration, Joan. So thank you for that. And I created the show when the pandemic started. I had some, I do a lot of work on television around the country, and I just decided that I wanted to start a live stream show and introducing people to a lot of incredible new thought leaders, inspirational leaders, authors, people who have been a huge influence in my life and the work that I'm doing today. And so I reached out to all of these great authors that I've worked with from Hay House, and I was a Hay House author on the I Can Do It tours, and other people such as yourself who supported me in my career, back when I became an author and speaker, and everyone's saying yes. And I'm so excited because these shows are so impactful, because what we're doing is we're providing the tools for people to improve their mindset, improve their health, boost their mood, boost their self-esteem, so that they actually have the tools to create a happy, joyful, fulfilling life, because it is possible. And, the only people I'm asking to be on the show are the people who have actually done it, and not people who are just, talking and sharing tips that, actually haven't been through difficult times in their lives and overcome too. And so it's something that in my heart, it felt so important to do right now, with all that we're going through in our planet. Just people are hungry for hope and inspiration, and I think they need the tools.
And Michelle, where can our listeners go to get more information about you and all of your work?
Oh, thank you. MichellePhillips.com.
So, Michelle, I can't believe we're out of time. You and I need to do a 3-hour summit somewhere and just be together and share, because it goes by so quickly and it's never enough time. So thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Joan. You're such an inspiration to me, too. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that the information provided is the opinion of our guest and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, visit our website, CYACYL.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on our site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, sign up for our mailing list, and be sure to follow the show on social media. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.